Junior doctors are striking again later this month because they are saying the Health Secretary has rejected its gesture of goodwill.
Yeah, so these talks have been going on for quite some time. We saw quite a few strikes from the junior doctors last year.
Last month
even, sort of running into this year. And I think the Health Secretary was hoping to get this dealt with, but there's not a lot of goodwill between the parties there. If you look at some of the British Medical Association elections and things, the doctors are getting even more militant, sort of more pro-strike candidates being elected. And, I don't think there's a huge movement on the side of the government there. And what we're seeing is those talks are starting to break down, and another strike is the biggest weapon in the union's arsenal. So they're going to deploy it when they think it's most useful.
I mean, what we saw with the last strike action from the junior doctors in January was the government were refusing to meet them while strike action was taking place. Do you think that was the right call from the government, not to meet them whilst the strike was ongoing? Because you'd almost want to see both sides just coming around the table and finally hashing this out. I mean, we're talking right now about another reballot and getting a further mandate for even more strike action. And all the while, we're seeing the waiting list just get longer and longer and longer.
Absolutely. I think it was probably a bad call from the government because the junior doctors sort of striking is the biggest thing they can do. And if you're saying to them, we're only going to meet with you if you don't have a strike, that doesn't really encourage them to give up that leverage that they have. And I think that's what you're seeing, and the doctors are becoming more determined on this. And as you say, that's having huge repercussions for the NHS.
And I think there was maybe a lot of optimism when Victoria Atkins became Health Secretary. I mean, not that long ago, was it? But maybe people were thinking she might have a different approach, a different kind of diplomacy with this. And it hasn't really happened.
No, it hasn't at all. So that's always one of those things that people get tunnel vision when they're locked into these disputes, and sometimes having a new person come in, they can have a new approach, but seemingly, really it's coming from government that they are going to try and stare down these doctors and that they are going to push a harder line, and that's what we're seeing. And at the moment, it seems the doctors are pushing back. Because, of course, the other thing to remember is if you're one of these doctors, you're thinking, well, another 6-7 months or so, we will have a Labour government to deal with. They'll want to get this sorted. And so that time pressure is probably flowing into their thinking as well.
A glimmer of hope in all of this. The BMA said the strikes could be called off if a credible offer is made. How likely do you think that is to happen, John?
I think it's unlikely. I think that the BMA, the junior doctors, are asking quite a lot to, they say, sort of make up for cuts to junior doctor pay that have happened not just recently, not just in the face of the current inflation, but going back sort of all through austerity. The government keeps saying they're not going to go much higher than the offers they've already made, which are more generous than the normal pay increase, but nothing like what the junior doctors say. And I think also at the moment it looks very weak if the immediate response to this is to make a big offer. And the government have to worry as well that they've got other unions involved, both in the medical profession and across the board. And if the junior doctors get a big result out of the striking, is that only going to encourage more strikes across the public sector where these pay disputes are going on?